Good morning, everyone. This was a concerning tweet to wake up to. OPP tasered my son, tweets Randy Hillier. In the back tonight in Perth. The crime? My son's friend went to the bar to order a beer, wasn't wearing a mask. The owner of the Arrow pub called the cops. My son stood up and explained their friend is exempt from mask wearing. They're both in jail. Ontario politics. Here's another tweet from Mr. Hillier. It says, is it a coincidence this week I complained to the OPP of them entering businesses and threatening $100,000 fines to store owners who are exempt from wearing masks? Tonight my son gets tasered in the back for defending an exempt mask wearer. Ford Nation is a police state. This is very concerning. Here's London Police Service. This is London, Ontario, not New Brunswick. I double checked. It says London, Ontario. With COVID-19 cases on the rise, we're reminding everyone to adhere to gathering limits. Indoor gatherings over 10 are not permitted. Also, please limit trips outside of the house for only essential purposes. Help first responders keep London safe. We have very few people in the hospital in Guelph. I don't know exactly the numbers in London, but this seems very, very, very concerning considering these aren't laws. These are unelected health officials' decrees, right? Like, we're not ruled by decree in Canada, except now we are. And now, what is the path out of this? Where are the lawsuits? Where are they? I keep hearing about them, right? Not Randy Hillier, but Rocco Galati talking about fighting the mask mandates. Now we're in a full-blown police state with police threatening people in gatherings, etc. This is very concerning. And what's even more concerning is that there are a lot of people who are right on board with this. They're more on board with this. They're saying, great job. Let's crack down on those non-mask wearers. Let's make sure we take away their healthcare rights too. How dare they put us at risk, right? But here's Greg Tolan. He says, read it and weep, bedwetters and psychopathic politicians. There is no pandemic in Canada in 2020 and no excess death in 2020. The only chart you will ever need to see. It's bang on normal, right? 2016, 177,000, 2017, 181,000, 2018, 186,000, 2019, 190,000, 2020, 186,000. We're far away from surpassing the 2019 total of deaths, and we're bang in line for a normal year. Why are we locking everything down? Why are we allowing police to start dictating the public health orders? Like, there's a mechanism for that, and it's not the police come in with riot gear and horses. Oh, wait. Maybe it is. And it's not having people tasered in the back for not wearing a mask in a bar. Like, if you want to give somebody a citation for that, all right, sure. And you will be fought in court and the process of that will happen. But tasering a couple of kids and then locking them up? I can't imagine this standing. And if it stands, we're in a lot of trouble. I mean, we're in a lot of trouble anyway. We're in a lot of trouble. Make no mistake. We're in a lot of trouble. This Christmas hopefully looks like other Christmases, but I fear next Christmas might look very different. And I hope I'm wrong. Okay. Here's, the death chart is there. You can use that link if you like. It's sourced as well. The source link is on the document. Okay. So that's good. I like when people do that. That's good. I mean, it's kind of annoying because they don't usually include the link too. So that's annoying, but whatever. Anthony Fury, moving on, says Alberta has updated their comorbidity data. Comorbidity is other things that you're sick with when you potentially die, right? COVID's the headliner, but maybe you've got heart disease, diabetes, or cancer, or any of the other big 7 major causes of death in Canada, right? Maybe you've got a couple of them. A lot of people in Alberta had multiple comorbidities and they died, and they're saying that it's COVID that killed them. I don't know, man. Anyway, comorbidity data. The percentage of people who have died from COVID-19 while grappling with 3 or more underlying health conditions has now increased to represent 77% of all deaths. The percentage with 0 underlying conditions has gone down to 2%. This is no worse than the flu. And you've got the death chart here. It says, please feel free to share these facts on COVID-19 deaths. In Alberta, a total of 11 otherwise healthy people with no comorbidities have died of COVID-19. The 30th leading cause of death in Alberta in 2019 killed 217 people, almost 20 times as many. 20 times as many. That's the 30th leading cause of death, right? That's not counting cancer. That's like obesity, right? Like, this bothered me. The head of one of Guelph's largest employers will be among those helping determine the rollout of COVID-19 vaccine in Ontario. Oh, great. Your expertise is what exactly in virology or anything to do with healthcare or rolling out a vaccine for a pandemic? So what are your qualifications again? You're rich? Oh, wonderful for you. You get to decide who gets it, eh? Who gets it first? I wonder who will be among that group. There are problems in England as well. And am I saying Pfizer wrong? Somebody said, I think you meant Pfizer. And I was like, isn't that how you say that? So I might be saying it wrong. I don't know. It's very funny if I'm saying it wrong, though, because I have no idea. But anyway, regardless, back to this. The Vancouver Canucks today fired their longtime and extremely popular anthem singer, Mark Donnelly, fired for his commitment to sing the anthem tomorrow at a rally opposing the COVID-19 restrictions. What do you think of this? Incredibly terrifying, again, right? Welcome to the police state. Not only do you have to agree, you have to adhere to these rules by decree that change regularly. And, you get an announcement on the radio and probably at some point they'll just send it to your phone to update you on what you're allowed to do, right? But we're seeing people get removed from their job for using their private time to say, I disagree with this and I'm using my right as a person in Canada to protest. And it should be you should be able to protest for what you want to protest on without being fired. I'm hiring an anthem singer, Mark, if you want to come on and sing the anthem for me. Not really. I couldn't pay him. I couldn't possibly approach the salary of the Vancouver Canucks. So yeah, if you want to come on and sing, though, that'd be good. Brett says, just got back from lunch with the wife. We were asked for ID to show we lived together so we could sit at the same table. The couple that came in after us said they lived together but couldn't prove it, so they were forced to sit apart. Lots of tables open, luckily. And he says, where was this? New Brunswick, Canada. There's not one coronavirus patient in the hospital in the entire province. And there were further conversation. Oh, right. Okay. So he said the owner said that there were police, peace officers, and inspectors that would fine businesses and customers if they didn't comply. I felt bad for him. He's just trying to keep his pub open, but we were the only 4 customers. This is tyrannical villainy here. The problem with this is when you've got like gangs and illegal guns in Toronto, and maybe not so much. Maybe that's not a huge problem in New Brunswick, but you had illegal guns in Nova Scotia, right? And I'm going to talk about that. There's some updated news on that at the end of the show. But you've got illegal guns, you've got rampant crime, we've got all sorts of crazy stuff that has been like reclassified from being taken very seriously by the law to being summary offenses, which you can send a lawyer in your stead. You don't have to appear, blah, blah, blah. All sorts of changes to our legal system. But further than that, your regular everyday life has been criminalized, right? Like, how dare you go to a pub with your wife? How dare you? How dare you? And if you go, we're going to make sure we know who you are and where you live. So if somebody else reports going to the pub and feeling a little sick, you will get a 14-day quarantine. Lucky you. We're keeping you safe. It's for your safety, citizen. I don't understand how we're all just sitting by and watching this all slip away, and quite compliantly, right? Quite happily, really. It's everybody's pretty happy. Everybody's on the internet, and nobody's upset. No, they're encouraging the Black Lives Matter protests. They're cracking down on anti-lockdown protests. There's no doubt about that. They're doing that in real time, and like that's a chill, right? Like that does chill people's ability to go out and yell and scream. Even though last week there was more people in downtown Toronto on Saturday than there had been previously ever, and that was due to some crackdowns that happened last week. The barbecue situation was very fresh in people's mind last week. So what do you do? What do you do? I've said to my family, we're kind of a log in a river heading towards a waterfall at this point in time. Like, you can jump out, but it's going to take one heck of a disruption to get you out of that river, right? And man, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. But we're in a situation where across the country, regardless of the numbers, regardless of the provable, verifiable, sourced numbers, right? Elderly people are dying of comorbidities, and no more people have died this year than last year. And yet still, the public will to demand these politicians loosen up these restrictions is not there. And because they're afraid. They're afraid. Fear drives a whole lot. And just look at where we are. It's unbelievable, right? Restaurants shut down, while Walmart and Costco can operate with impunity, and just unbelievable. And people, the Karens saying, if you disagree, fine, just shop online. Okay, Doug Ford, great pivot there, buddy. Moron. He's not getting reelected. He's not getting reelected. I don't know what's going to happen in Ontario. There are going to be a lot of people who voted for Doug Ford who will not vote for Doug Ford now. And I don't know if the mushy middle will be enough to keep him in power with the minority. I have no idea. But I don't know what's going to happen in Ontario because people are sick and tired of this bullshit. And it is bullshit. I looked up the process in Ontario for choosing to not get your child vaccinated for school, says Ian Pretty. They make you attend a Wrong Think re-education camp and sign something that you listen to all of the big pharma sales pitch. Why vaccines are great. I would love to hear the vaccine pitch for COVID-19's vaccine. Here's Oakville News. And Oakville News tried to, hold on here, let's see if I can get the replies properly showing. So Oakville News did a little Twitter poll, and so news in Oakville, including sports, fairs, restaurants, shopping, blah, blah, blah. You know, things that you won't be able to do in the near future, right? Because you're not allowed. It's not safe to go, citizen. Sorry about your luck. Anyway, it says when a COVID-19 vaccine becomes available, will you be vaccinated? 18% said yes, 74.6% said no, and 6.6% said not sure. But yesterday, or December 3rd, it's now the 5th, Oakville News said, right now we're trending with about 75% of people saying they will be vaccinated. That leaves 25% who either will not or are undecided. It's very funny because they're, not that they're closed-minded, but my goodness, the poll flipped. And, where's that news, right? Oh, we'll just bury that. Oh, Twitter trolls got into our poll and flipped the results, so we'll try this one. Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you could just explain away everything, right? Here's an interesting piece of news. The UK promises to pay anyone who suffers severe COVID vaccine side effects £120,000. Oh, isn't that lucky? Isn't that great when they're just shoveling money at you to get you to take this vaccine while simultaneously threatening you, right? Here's London's response to this. This is stick the poison vaccine up your ass from London. Here we go. You can stick your poison vaccine up your ass. You can stick your poison vaccine up your ass. You can stick your poison vaccine. Stick your poison vaccine. Stick your poison vaccine up your ass. Ah, indeed, yes. Nothing. The Brits do like a sing-song, don't they? A vaccine so safe you have to be threatened to take it. For a disease so deadly you need to test to know if you have it. 2020, just pulling the wool over everyone's eyes and nobody seems to care. Portuguese judges uphold lower court ruling that PCR tests are 97% unreliable with CTs of 35 and above. And Ontario does do cycles of above 35 up to 40. And I've shared that before with you. Here's a fully sourced one page sheet with links, and then the links are also below here. They're legit. Man, I wish this was like known by politicians, right? Here's Jason Kenney talking about the Great Reset, and I forgot to cue this up. He does a full minute talking about how the Great Reset is real. It was written in a book by Mr. Schwab. Mr. Schwab sent me a copy of the book, and basically, we're not doing that. I don't know what Jason Kenney's game is. Because on one hand, he's pro-immigration and all sorts of other stuff that just doesn't make economic sense. In the context of Canada currently, except the Liberals are saying this is how we're going to kickstart our economy. So, I mean, hey, if you don't subscribe to the Liberal right think, you're wrong, right? So, but regardless, it still doesn't make economic sense. The Liberals don't have economic sense, so that makes sense. But I don't get Jason Kenney. I don't understand him at all. I'll find a meaningful 30 seconds. Hold on. Okay, here's a meaningful 30 seconds. At the end of this, though, he says clearly, I'm not going to be doing this. Well, he says that in this clip. I don't know what his game is. Here we go.
And so, no, I'm not going to be taking any policy direction from Klaus Schwab or his ilk. And what I find offensive, look, the so-called Great Reset is not a conspiracy theory. It is an actual set of concrete proposals being advocated by some very influential people, and including, apparently, by Prime Minister Trudeau, who clearly alluded to it, referred to it, quoted from it, the Schwab theory, in a speech he gave to the United Nations a couple of months ago. So it's not a conspiracy theory to talk about that. Those are the folks advocating it. And I think it's perfectly legitimate for democratically elected leaders, for me to say, heck no, we're not going to exploit or take advantage of a crisis to advance a political agenda.
I'll leave it there. What crisis? You know, where's the crisis? If you look at these numbers, was 2019 a crisis too? It wasn't. It wasn't, and this one's not either. So I don't get Jason Kenney's game. He'll play. Heck no, we're not going to exploit this obvious crisis. Where's the data, Jason? I don't get it. Why aren't you advocating for this? The Great Reset, he says, is a thing, is policies. They are policies that are being implemented by some very influential people, according to Jason Kenney, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And one could extrapolate that maybe Boris Johnson is also having the same influential people influence him. Right? It says, it is with tears in my eyes. This is at Greenwich, I think a London Greenwich pub. Yeah, Greenwich pub in London. And it says, it's with tears in my eyes and with great sadness that I regret to inform you that after many sleepless nights, it's been decided that the Dog and the Bell will not be reopening this December. The Tier 2 restrictions are too much for a traditional drink-led pub like ours to operate at a level that is remotely viable. And he talks about the regulations that have been set up. The regulations that are set up are set to destroy small businesses. They're not destroying Walmart. They're not destroying Costco. They're not destroying these big companies. And the big companies, well, this guy explains the Great Reset in very great detail. I'll show you again another 30 seconds of, the first 30 seconds is worth it. Go watch the full 2 minutes. He goes through all of it. Here we go.
Monetary policy. What's happening right now? What have we done over the last 8 months? Oh, we've increased our national debt by 50%. What happens if Joe Biden becomes the president? Oh, we're going to increase it more. We're going to increase it more anyways. Is this sustainable? I think global debt increased by 40% during the pandemic. Where did that money go? Oh, well, if you haven't looked, we're at all-time highs right now in the stock market. What's been moving more than anything? Oh, big tech.
Oh, wait, you mean to tell me that Apple and Google and Amazon and Facebook are up 50% from their previous all-time highs? That they're releasing record numbers during the coronavirus pandemic? And that's what...
Oh, somebody's connecting the dots. That's the Great Reset. Right? The Great Reset is the complete bankrupting of the small business economy, the destruction of entrepreneurial spirit, the destruction of having us create things and just having the big guys promote their big blue chip stocks and just keep watching the money pump, because we're the cattle that drive the money, right? Like, the investments, all that money, all that stuff, we just got to keep pushing it. It's crazy. It's crazy. The Great Reset. And conspiracy theory, Jason Kenney doesn't think so, right? Despite the full contact or the full rollout of media to the contrary, right? Very interesting. Here's moving into Canadian politics. The Senate erupted yesterday. Mr. Housakis alleged that Justin Trudeau was taking bribes, and well, here's the exchange. I'm gonna play some of this. I'm gonna play as much of this as it feels like necessary to play. There's a whole article. I'm not gonna go through the article, and there's a little bit more follow up, but I think this covers it here. So here we go.
Bribery is a charge under the criminal code. And so the honorable senator just made an accusation of criminal activity. And in a rhetorical sense, he's entitled to his opinion, and I would never take that away from any senator. But I think accusing government officials of bribery when there is no evidence, when there is no suggestion of criminal activity is over the line. And I think that the senator should be asked to withdraw that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Lankin is raising a point of order, obviously, on Rule 6-13, sub 1. Senator Housakis, do you wish to reply?
I do, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, we obviously have our privileges in this chamber to express ourselves as we see fit. I exercise that privilege. I would like to respond to Senator Lankin. I've had the integrity and the decency to go above and beyond that, because I've actually, the claims I've made in my speech today, under my privilege and immunity as a parliamentarian, I made on social media, I made on the public, I made those declarations public. I've encouraged the Prime Minister, if he wants to take actions against me in dealing with those declarations, he has the freedom to do so, and I'd be more than happy to see him in a court of law and cross-examine him there in a court of law. I stand by my statement. I believe that the We Charity gave a payment to his mom, to his mother, to his brother, to his wife at various times, and in exchange, in a complete conflict of interest and breach of the criminal code, months later there was an exchange of government grants and funds. And now this Prime Minister has done this on a number of occasions. I called him out when he took 2 luxury trips at the Aga Khan Island, and a few months later, the foundation of the Aga Khan received tens of millions of dollars in decisions that were taken by the Cabinet where the Prime Minister did not excuse himself when he was in a clear conflict of interest.
And I'll cut it there. There's only like 10 more seconds. But see? Doesn't seem to matter. Right? Doesn't seem to matter. There are intelligent people who have pointed this out and can clearly draw the lines. This is not legal behavior. This is not okay. He is using his position to enrich his friends and family. Not okay. Right? Clearly spelled out as not okay. But he gets away with it. Why? And we can't possibly accuse the Prime Minister of criminal behavior. And then Mr. Housakis lays out his accusations and his reasoning. I think it's well thought out and well reasoned. The Sun-Times is reporting protests erupt in Senate after accusations against Prime Minister in We Charity scandal. Accurate. Senator Housakis defends himself. Just as the RCMP and the Crown must be free to apply the applicable sections of the Criminal Code, parliamentarians must be free to call out inappropriate behavior by the Prime Minister, especially unlawful behavior. Doubles down. He's responding to a Holly Doan tweet, Blacklock's reporter. Mr. Polyev, again, this is a very good video. This is a better video that I've seen out of the CPC. It's a darn shame about that leader, eh? Oh, ouch, Aaron O'Toole. What do you think about the people who are protesting the lockdowns? Oh, we need to listen to our public health officials. Thanks, Justin Trudeau. Anyway, regardless, Pierre Poilievre says the real story behind the abrupt resignation of Canada's top finance bureaucrat just a day after the fiscal update. So the premise of this video is he's asking why did the number 2 step down, and basically the headlines paint the picture of zero confidence in all the spending that we're doing. Anyway, I'll let it play a little bit. I don't know that we'll watch the whole full 2 minutes, maybe a minute. Here we go.
Courageous whistleblowers in the public service called the media to warn them of literally terrifying expenditures. Other officials called the media to say that they'd been ordered to send out checks even in cases where fraud was suspected. And now, suddenly, the Deputy Minister of Finance has resigned the day after the economic statement. The Deputy Minister of Finance, did he resign suddenly because he is also terrified of this government's uncontrolled spending? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me thank the Deputy Minister Rochon for his years of service across different governments. But I want to turn my attention to the argument the honourable member has made. This morning, he distastefully compared our government's emergency measures to a rich kid smoking drugs on his parents' money. The reality is the programs we have advanced have gone to protect the lives of Canadians and to ensure that households and businesses could survive this pandemic. The fact is we have to do everything as long as it takes, as much as it takes to get Canadians through this pandemic. If that member takes an opposite view and disagrees with that fundamental tenet of our approach, I look forward to seeing a Liberal MP representing the good people of Carleton after the next election.
All right, and I'll end the back and forth there. Mr. Polyev says, well, they've tried to replace me before, but the people of Carleton keep electing me, basically. And the Liberals... very interesting pivot, right? Just a very interesting. Why did he resign? And then the Liberal goes after Polyev for daring to question all the great stuff they've done. And the edit is brilliant because the news headlines disprove what the Liberal is saying. It's very interesting what's going on. John Ivison, writing for the National Post, says mind-blowing Liberal spending spree, a massive ripoff of future generations. The cost of servicing the debt is as low as it has ever been, but that doesn't mean taxpayers aren't obliged to pay it off, just that they will never stop paying it off. Yeah, it's like you've got a condo and you've got that constant condo fee, right? This is Michael Barrett. He's talking about how the Liberals shut down Parliament and filibustered committees instead of helping Canadians. They took an entire summer and did nothing during the pandemic. Did nothing. Nothing. We still haven't stopped flights. We're still landing flights in hotspot areas, right? And the flights are landing in hotspot areas are impacting the case numbers potentially because, well, they're international flights that have COVID patients on them. So we've got people landing internationally into hotspot areas, continuing to destroy our economy. But that's okay, right? Because Justin Trudeau subscribes to the Great Reset. So, hey, according to Jason Kenney, right? So what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? I don't know. This is unbelievable. New stricter school screening guidelines from the Toronto Public Health. Kids will need to stay home even with one new or worsening symptom. If you get a runny nose, keep all children home and get COVID-19 testing, even if it's a runny nose. New Toronto Public Health School guidelines say. This is the letter for the Toronto Public School Health Guidelines. I don't know how they're justifying this. This seems like, the PCR test has just been upheld. The fallibility of the PCR test has just been upheld in the Portuguese court. 97% useless, basically, if you cycle it as high as we cycle it. So why in the world is the Toronto Public Health saying if your kid has a stuffy nose or a runny nose, they got to stay home? That is unnecessary. I don't think this is going to stand. And I mean, but I didn't think a lot of this was going to stand. I didn't think parents would stand by and just allow their kids to be masked at school. And then I saw babies with masks on, and I thought, do people not read at all? Anyway, regardless. According to the city, so okay, do you guys remember the hotel and then 2 condo buildings? Maybe it was office buildings. Regardless, they bought this hotel in the middle of downtown Toronto, in the middle of Toronto at this intersection here. And the 2 buildings the Roehampton, and the 2 buildings being the extra overflow didn't work out. So they closed those buildings down, but Roehampton is still operational. And yesterday, police are investigating a suspicious death at the Midtown shelter. Can you imagine owning a house around here? Your property value is just tanking. And regardless of property value, the reason I talk about property value is because how could you continue living there? You would if you had children, and there's a daycare right next to this place. There's a daycare adjacent to these properties. How could you possibly just ignore this? I can't ignore this, and I'm at least an hour's drive out, right? So this is our culture is being destroyed enthusiastically by mid-level and low-level and mid-level management of our municipalities and provinces. And it's being overseen by a prime minister who's enacting this Great Reset plan. What are you going to do? How do you fight this, right? You're going to get tasered if you dare to stand up and go get a drink without a mask on. But people can kill each other in the shelter because they've solved the problem of housing, so they can zero that one out. They've just ignored all the other problems that are apparent in populations like this, and all the problems they created by putting this population, housing this population amongst the rest of the city's population, the dense population that lives there. I don't think this is going to end well. I hope I'm wrong. Statement from Superintendent Darren Campbell, I think that's Superintendent, re H. Strong. This was, they arrested the wife of the Nova Scotia killer for trafficking the ammunition used in the shooting of the day. And they didn't know, according to this release here, that the accused who have been accused after the fact of transporting this ammunition weren't aware of the gunman's murderous intent, according to them, but they still trafficked in the ammunition. They still moved the ammunition, so they're guilty. Or they're being charged anyway. I don't know if they're guilty. So I mean, that's an interesting thing. It seems like they do everything. They being investigators, people who are in law enforcement, and even court systems nowadays. It seems like they do everything to go around the real issue. Right? Can we look at the connections between RCMP and the shooter and all of those connections? And I know some things have come out, but this seems like a distraction, right? To get it into the news, to see we're doing something about this, when really, what are they really doing to solve it? I think they're just adding more confusion to the fire. 6 provinces urged Ottawa to delay tabling UN DRIP legislation, but were rebuffed by Justice Minister. The UN DRIP is the United Nations Indigenous Rights Plan. And I was talking about this yesterday, but I didn't have a link. But this is the plan to align Canadian law with United Nations expectations. So I was saying yesterday that basically we're a United Nations province already, and undoing all of this, we're so far past being able to easily undo this. A lot of the regulations can be undone pretty easily. A lot of the law enforcement stuff can be fixed, but getting all that stuff done is going to be a nightmare, because you're going to be facing people who are ideologically driven, who are still in positions of power. Unless there's something done that's going to fix the inherent problems of Dominion and our voting system and our the cronyism that's inherent in our system. Mark Kielburger was on the debate commission. Like, this is unbelievable insider baseball. I shouldn't make baseball analogies, but still, you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, they're all friends here, right? Like, I'm not going to call Mark directly. Mark's going to understand, Mark Kielburger is going to understand that what he needs to do in the debate commission to support Justin Trudeau, right? And he's going to support Justin Trudeau. Like, until we've got it fixed for all that, the rest is immaterial, right? And we're in a situation where we're at these people's mercy. And so at the mercy of the United Nations, and they're making it seem like it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Don't be mistaken. It's it's very, very problematic. This is interesting. Jenna Ellis is part of the Trump legal team. I think she is anyway. I believe she's one of the lawyers, constitutional lawyer. Yeah, Trump team. She says, look at this picture from the Georgia video. Huge spike for Biden during the same time that the suitcase ballots started to be scanned. I didn't realize that So these are the results for this reporting precinct. And of course they have this timestamped, right? Of course they have these ballots scanned at some point. They have video of the people rolling these ballots, all of these for Trump, out from underneath for Biden, from underneath the black table. And they've got the timestamp to correlate when this group of ballots got ran in this computer by this group of people. I think that they might be in trouble. I'm just saying, I think they might be in trouble. I think if they haven't got a knock on the door from somebody, I think they might be getting a knock on the door from somebody. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe Biden gets sworn in and the world continues like none of this ever happened. I don't see that happening. But our government is certainly acting like none of this is happening. Just like the Democrats are acting like none of this is happening. And the news is acting like none of this is happening. But this is happening. This is happening. There's lots of proof. I don't know if they're going to be able to just make it go away. They've made lots go away that I didn't think they'd be able to make go away. So they could. Who knows? It seems like their magical mystical powers. Do you remember the Las Vegas shooting, the biggest shooting in the history of the United States, and nothing, right? Like, no real investigation. It just kind of went away. Who knows? So they have lots of power to make things disappear, and humans are constantly suffering from amnesia. If you don't believe me, what was I talking about 10 minutes ago? Don't scrub back, right? You don't know. And the funny part is, like, everybody's suffering from amnesia. Like, you get up and you think to yourself, I'm going to go get a hot chocolate, and then you find that you don't have hot chocolate in the one cupboard, so you have to go to the pantry. So you walk into the pantry and you're like, why am I in here right now? Right? That happens to everybody, young and old and whatever. It's when you look at the car keys and don't know what the car keys are for that you've got a problem. But realistically, everybody's suffering from this amnesia, and the people who run our media know it. They know it, and they exploit it, right? And that's not all they exploit. So be aware of that. Anyway, and be aware of that about yourself as well. Understand that you will forget. You do forget. You've probably forgotten. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. Oh, I did that wrong. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. And have a wonderful, wonderful